Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to part 2 of our interlude with the lovely Sin and Blackstone and Rory. We are about to dive back in. I hope you are able to get your potions, any drinks, water, snacks, all that fun stuff. Make sure you're hydrating and taking care of yourself. Reminder, we do have content warnings for today's episode, as Ampistrano may contain intense themes and descriptions, including but not limited to death, darkness, heightened levels of stress, descriptions of injured and slain individuals, ghosts, spirits, monstrous creatures, hallucinations, visions, possession, existential crises, complex and complicated relationships, missing and kidnapped people, grief, regret, and romance. Please stay safe as you travel beyond the veil and prioritize your well-being. Now, where we're picking up, if you're just joining us, Blackstone and Rory and the crew, we basically went back a few weeks, back to the town of Vanya, shortly after Carmen had been basically ripped out of Blackstone's body and taken by the society. Rory starting to piece together what's been kind of happening over the last 800 years or so, both remembering things but not, as there were conversations between Rory and Blackstone about their friends, their new party mates, what might have happened with Carmen, as well as along with this, what happened to the town of Vanya, which had been a question left off from season 3, in fact. Using some of their spiritual connection, Rory was able to kind of basically piece together all of this and realize that what happened in Vanya is not too dissimilar to what happened in Felk, but also had some very key differences with people being able to assist in time. The group traveled on the Misty Haven on basically this kind of riverboat down the river to eventually arrive at the city of Jorix. And that is where we pick up for you, Sid. So I would imagine at this point in the day, it's right around, I would say, the early afternoon, possibly getting into the evening. So probably around like 3 or 4 o'clock, give or take. And you can see that you are where the Misty Haven is kind of being directed isn't the main port. There's a whole port section that Blackstone vaguely remembers, the docks. You're kind of being taken in on a kind of small, there's only like 2 or 3 other boats present, pier where there's what appears to be some kind of like regular fishing boat. You can see one that has the symbol of the temples on there, which is typically like if anyone's super sick and they're doing if like magic is not able to be used, if they need to move someone elsewhere, this would be how. As this is a boat that also services the farms as well, because not everyone has the magical means or the funds as well, because everything is a bit pricey in Jorix as well. And you can also see that there is a boat that is discreet, but I will say your passive perception would connect that this boat, while discreet, is often used to kind of smuggle either high-paying merchants or high-paying nobility officials in and out
basically people who don't want to be seen.
Yeah, in and out of Jorix without doing the regular fanfare of going to the docks, basically. Of, hey, they got to go in the middle of the night and they don't want anyone to know, and they don't want to leave a magical signature behind. So that's what you're able to kind of see as you're kind of pulling up to the docks with Misty Haven, who at this point is kind of coughing. Because if you remember, Riley had mentioned the last little stone that was being used to power the Misty Haven was dying. And so it's kind of making that like as it's sputtering into the port itself, into the pier. And you can see there's a couple of Crown's Guard that are kind of just watching this thing as it just kind of not sinks, but just kind of like stalls. But luckily there was enough forward motion that you just kind of float into the piers and slowly stop.
I think Rory at this moment is holding a piece of rope. In a knot, there is a black marking on it. I know what this means. I do not know why I know what this means. Well, they're busy anyway. I'll take a moment to run a quick analysis. Nautical knots? As a secret, as a code. Blackstone, why did you learn this?
Imagine that's been the like number one question for the last like week is just, why did you learn this? What possessed you to why did you learn this? What's this? What's this? Like, just kind of, I'm sorry. That took me out. I'm so sorry.
Oh, why did you learn this?
Blackstone is Jack Skellington confirmed. Sorry. Okay, I'm shutting up now. I'm sorry.
Well, it is a long story, but if you notice that boat over there, things along those lines. This particular one means that the city that you're currently in is, or at least the waterways leading to the city, contain some grave danger of some kind. Oh, I see. Do we know what the grave danger is? Well, that depends on whether or not they put bird feathers, rocks, or seashells. Are there any other secret languages that you've acquired? Well, a few actually. You'll find that in certain places in Jorix it's important. It was very helpful that you built me with the model that I have, mostly because for some reason secrecy in certain areas of the city are very important. I will attempt to keep that in mind. Oh, and when you get to those places, well, I suppose in one way you will know, and in another way, people will make it very apparent that they don't want people to know things. Usually hush whispers, specialized arcane magic, or very low lighting, or some combination of those. Well, I suppose let's see what 800 years has brought this city. And so Blackstone steps off the boat with the rest of the party and has a look around.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and let's do a perception check. Unless you were feeling more inquisitive, and then you can do an investigation check. Also, thank you for the double raid. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you had a good stream.
So you said perception or investigation?
Correct. Depending on if you just want to take in the sights or, if you are wanting to perhaps see, because the city, like I said, is familiar in both your memory and in Blackstone's memory. It's just very changed. right? You're basically comparing present day Jorix to a photo of Jorix 50-ish years ago
So I
to
think I
800
would
years ago.
go. I think I would go the route of investigation, mostly because Rory's an academic. Like that's what he would do. So investigation it is. That is a 21 on investigation.
Okay. So with this, you can tell that this city has definitely been through it. But has also learned in its time and its growth over the past 800 years. It is expansive. There is a massive wall that goes around the entire city itself, which you can see as you're kind of looking up. There are Crownsguard that are milling about, keeping an eye on top of the wall, ever watchful. You can see that the fields around Jorix themselves, there's like the city has bustled so much that there you couldn't fit everything in the city, so it exploded outwards. As you see that there is life present everywhere, and a variety of it too. It seems to be a breadbasket of elven, gnome. You also see minotaur. You see, surprisingly too, as you're kind of milling about, you see someone must have either was very much inspired by your early sketches before you decided to switch to using stones as your main basis for your automatons, and instead expanded using the metal of the earth and magic, as you do see several automatons moving about the city, typically tied with nobility, which is not too much of a surprise, but I have to imagine with Rory, you always wanting things to be pretty available and accessible to all probably feels a little bit like a slap in the face.
It's one of those things of like, I'm not surprised, but it's just distasteful. Just,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
for sure. And they are milling about the city. At this point, you see the kind of marketplaces are busy, the shops are busy, and everyone either has access to magic or magic adjacent capabilities. There are ramps, there are roadways, there are stairways, there are podiums by which people can move along. And you can see as you're kind of walking around too, of course, at the time it wasn't very grand, but you can see up on the hills the crest of where the temple districts are. The Cloud Top district, which you vaguely remember. Granted, that was where the vast majority of Jorix was actually originally built. And then looks like Upper Crust took that upper ledge. And then, of course, the massive castle overlooking the cliffside.
Okay, system. I guess it's time for an update. So, what information did Blackstone collect about this city? Community wizards, a magic institution, stratified areas of the city because, for whatever reason, these people seem to enjoy not living near quote unquote poor people, none of which would be poor if they would just share things. This is unnecessary. Look at the amount of land that they're sitting on. The sea and all of its bounty, and the land and all of its bounty. And they can't think of a single way for two people to just have an equal amount of things, or just the things that they need in general. Y'all have had 800 years to figure this out, and this is what you did with that time. Well, at least some of it looks nice, I guess.
Living for this. Yes, 800 years. And while growth has definitely happened, probably not in the areas that it actually really needed to happen. Oh boy.
Well, I guess it's good to know that there are some places to visit. Maybe I'll take a small afternoon walk.
And you see at this point, I think the vast majority of your group is kind of at this point splintering off, with 3 of the individuals kind of hugging Deodora, hugging you, and wishing you well as they depart. Now that you're all safe.
There's a low level combination of both panic and sadness. Not anxiety,
Sure.
but the feeling that anyone has when they have to tell their loved ones bad news. And being like, for Rory, Blackstone's in the library, this is a bad time to tell them. But this is also the kind of information that there's never a good time to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And so it always goes, I guess.
And
I think this is the moment that Rory looks at Deodora and kind of sees for the first time that very, like, the first hints of the underlying emotions come up and goes, oh, this is going to be quite difficult. All I know is that she enjoys hunting things and fighting and playing with her dog. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about this. And there's a sadness and acceptance that comes with both Rory being like, I can do what I can, but I don't know how helpful I can be because I'm still new.
Sure.
But also, meetings and partings are things that they've had to wake up to a whole world that wasn't here.
Yeah.
And they've had to deal with so many meetings and partings before that. There's like a kind of a sadness to it because there always is a bittersweet feeling, but it's not new.
Correct.
And I think for Rory, that makes it kind of hard for him to know what to do or how to be helpful when he sees that Deodora is the only person who hasn't left yet.
I think...
And there's a...
Oh, go on.
There's a part of him that thinks, I guess I won't be the only person who has to come back to a world that they didn't know when they get back.
Yeah. I think at that moment, Deodora kind of looks over at you, kind of processing everything, and you see someone incredibly strong and still, I think, very presence forward facing, not wanting to show any sign of weakness, but you, I think, with your passive insight and perception, can pick up that that fierceness doesn't connect behind the eyes. Deodora's always been a radiant person. From all of your memories, all of Blackstone's memories, is always a radiant. Honestly, at times going against her very own last name of Shade Sun. And in this moment, it's like the clouds have come out. Her eyes, she's there, but she's not fully there. She's kind of the last few weeks of adventuring, all of the different lore and adventures, the heartache, the pain, all of that is now, I would say, starting to rest on both of your shoulders, but she feels it more. Blackstone, you can kind of feel in the recesses of your mind. Kind of feels it too, but it's a different kind of processing of that. And I think at that moment, I think she would ask you to, hey, let's find a hotel or an inn to stay. And then you can kind of go off to your own devices, so to speak. And it doesn't take long for you to travel around and eventually find a small, crooked leaning inn, a crooked chimney, where the two of you are able to procure rooms. You, I imagine, wanting her to have her space along with Sparky, allow her that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are able to ask for adjoining rooms, but separate, so you can do that as, well, yes, she is a friend, she's also still very much a stranger at the same time to you in this current state.
Mm-hmm.
And you set off. Where would you go, Rory? The city is your oyster to explore.
I think I would wander the city a bit, somewhat aimlessly.
Okay.
So just walk the city and re-familiarize myself with what has changed in 800 years.
Sure.
I think what he would look for are things that used, like, are there any parts of anything that have, like, held through all of that time?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he would start with what is old and make his way around to what is new.
Sure. So I think you would head over then to what was, I mean, it is the grotto, which is the quarter that you're currently in. It's one of the oldest. That's why the other reason that they call it the grotto. Because even back then, this was a main hub for everyone to come and sell their goods, etc. As you head in that direction and are kind of wandering around the streets, which at this moment are busy as people are starting to clean up their stalls and head back home. The taverns are starting to become more lively as the sun is starting to set and the moon is starting to rise, especially since it's fall, so it's darker earlier. As you're walking around, I have to imagine, are always acutely aware of your surroundings in some retrospect. And as you're walking, about a block behind you, moving slowly, you hear like the patter of bare feet against cobblestone. Seemingly they've been shadowing you now for, I would say, the better part of a block. Trying to be quiet, trying to be discreet, but failing miserably. What do you do?
I was just taking a moment to look at things.
Mm-hmm.
So you said they're how far behind me?
About a block back. And it sounds like they are walking barefooted on the cobblestone. Based off of your passive, short in stature, moving around clumsily, either amongst the crowds or just someone who is not as experienced as you are with stealth.
What I want to do is weave myself into, first I want to weave myself into whoever's milling about at the time.
Okay. There's
and then
a number of small groups kind of moving about, so you can easily do that.
I'm gonna weave myself into a crowd, and then I am going to um look around, like observe the surroundings. So you said there are a lot of like carts and stuff around.
Carts, there's a number of stands, which right now are probably starting to get cleared out. The kind of shops you can see are still like gonna be open for a couple more hours. Like they have the lights and stuff, but some of them are pulling in their street signs, starting to slowly, kind of begin their preparations to close down for the night. So you're
Okay.
kind of getting a wide variety.
Okay. So would we say that there's like a stack of crates or something like this?
Yeah, there's crates all
About
over the place. Yeah.
Okay. So I weave myself into a crowd, and then the first one that and the first moment that I'm able to spot one, I slip into like behind some crates,
Mm-hmm.
and then I use minor illusion
Okay.
to put some crates in directly in front of me that I can see through.
Okay.
And then I look in the direction I see this person following me from.
Okay. Takes a few minutes as they're kind of also weaving their way through the crowd. They seem to be having some difficulty. The opposite kind of problem from what you are an automaton of stature. And while automatons are seen throughout the city, one made of stone is a little bit rarer. So you have gotten some glances as you've been milling about. And
would they be able to see that I'm an automaton under all my clothes?
no, but I think it's more so in the sense of your movement.
Okay.
I would say more so that. And it's only like, it's not everyone noticing right away. I would say it's more so like the keenest or the most experienced with their craft. Like those you can pick up are usually the ones that are either messing with metal or with stonework, because your footsteps are very impressionable on the cobblestone, for instance. To everyone else, it just sounds like you have some fancy shoes. But there is a weight to that. You notice instead this person is having the kind of opposite effect. It seems that just folks are not as acutely aware. This person is small in stature, probably about 3.5 feet, give or take. Not halfling. It looks like it is actually a small little girl that's kind of haphazardly has been trying to follow you. They are what appears to be a human girl with red hair kind of pulled back into a side ponytail rather, and bangs that are kind of largely covering her face. She's covered in dirt. She is wearing a very like plain cloth kind of dress that just goes just above her knees, that is also similarly covered in dirt and grime. Her bare feet kind of plodding along the ground as she's been just kind of in as best as she can trying to keep up with you. And as she's lost sight of you, I would imagine in front of where you've kind of mystified where these boxes are, I think she's looking around kind of confused, trying to see, and you see her like putting her hands against the ground, perhaps a rogue in training or a ranger in training, trying to pick up where you might have disappeared to, but not able to.
How far away would you say she is from me at the moment?
Not far. I would say maybe 10 feet, give or take.
Okay. What are you doing?
You see she immediately pauses, looking around. And you see her eyes, bright gold. Like a shiny new coin. from a merchant's pocket. And she seems to be looking around, very confused at first where that came from, kind of thing.
Answer the question.
Who are ye?
I would hope you would know. You've been following me for a little bit now.
Listen, it's always good to ask that question before properly answering. If you know I've been following you, why aren't we having this conversation face to face?
Well, for one, I am attempting not to be rude, and for two, I do not know if you are a friend or an enemy.
Neither. I'm here with a message that I have to deliver, and that's it. And at this point, you see her kind of rummaging around in her dress, and you see that there is a pocket with, as she kind of puts her hand in the pocket, she pulls out what appears to be a small bottle, and you can see parchment wrapped up in it.
I see. Do you know what the contents of the message are?
I don't have a death wish, so no.
Good to know. Thankfully, I have no wish to kill anyone. Now, if you wouldn't mind, can you please just leave the message here, near where you're currently on the ground, and I will pick it up.
She looks around because the group is like, there's still crowds of people milling about, but they're kind of moving around her. And she looks over towards a cart off to her left. And you see her kind of...
That won't be necessary. Just extend your hand with the item, please.
Oh.
And I use, like, mage hand, but it's invisible, to pick up the bottle out of her hand and just have it float at some distance that I can see.
Sure.
On the very top of someone's cart where no one would think to look, and I just deposit the message there.
Perfect. All right. You've got the message. My job is done. Great. And she just kind of gives this bow to wherever you might have been, kind of just in general. And you see her starting to just scaper off.
I kind of take a moment to try to memorize as many of her features as I can.
Okay. Why don't you roll a... let's do history, because you're going to be memorizing this. History or perception?
Definitely perception.
Sure.
Okay, that roll for perception is a 25.
25. Okay. She looks like a young child, roughly around between the ages of 9 and 10. She has definitely been through it. Not coming from a nobility family at all. She probably lives on the streets. You can see that she's got a number of scrapes and bruises, either from running around, stealing. She looks like the type that maybe has gone hungry on several occasions.
So I want to try to catch her before she leaves.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing. I imagine that a name might be too much to ask, but here. And I use another mage hand.
Okay.
To deposit, like an arm's length away from her, a single gold coin just floats to the ground. If I were to venture a guess, this was probably a very troublesome venture for you. Hopefully, that will be useful to you.
And I think with that perception check, you see as she's like quickly grabs up the coin, there's like a haunted expression on her face. As you say, this is probably a bit like has been quite an affair for you. Just a look of like has probably when a child has seen their worst nightmare kind of thing. And you just see her like very quickly like do the thing of like dissociating for a second before coming to. And whatever mask that she wears slipping back on, takes the coin. Thanks.
And I just kind of like watch until she leaves, because I imagine if that's the kind of reaction she had, trying to be like, well, I mean, let me be all up in your business, a whole stranger who you can't even see as a disembodied voice, right?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be like an issue.
And you see her quickly scaper off down. She gets off the main road like immediately. And you see climbing one of the kind of lower walls that separates between the districts. You see her immediately starting to climb it. Almost just like almost like a monkey climbing the wall, and is able to get over no problem, heading off and taking off towards the graveyard district, which is typically in your recent memory where a lot of the lowest kind of class and income typically live around, in between that and kind of the more rougher areas of Jorix, I would say. But you're left with this note.
I wait for about 10 minutes after I see her leave to go and retrieve the note.
Okay. And you see it's a old bottle. Not from Jorix. It's not a wine bottle at all. It seems like it's specifically a bottle that was made to hold messages. There's no sigil. There is like a wax sealing on it. And you can tell it's been unopened.
Is there magic on the bottle that I can sense?
There is no magic.
Okay. What does the note say?
All right, check your Discord. I just sent it to you. As you open up the bottle, I'll let you read it aloud.
Here, let's add some drama, shall we?
Sure.
Dearest brother, if you are reading this, it means that I have been called away again as chaos continues to wedge itself firmly between us. Do you remember me? Do you think of me as often as I think of you? Well, we hope to see you soon. Do be careful in Jorix. It may interest you to know. And the rest of the message is apparently covered in ink.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is someone that Blackstone knows.
Why don't you roll a history check or investigation?
Let's do. Well, I mean, I guess history and investigation are about the same for me, so we'll go ahead and make a roll. That is going to be a nat 20 on that roll.
Nice. Okay. It's somewhat mixed. It's apparently, and you're going through Blackstone's memories too, someone that you may also know. But Blackstone also knows as well. But not anyone that's coming to mind as having met them in person. Recently, at least. The handwriting, you realize, looking at this, takes you back to a moment in Felk when Blackstone was, along with the rest of the group, going through your laboratory, your workshop, and finding a similar looking note. Same parchment, likely used to write up both messages. And with a natural 20, the writing is also familiar. Ish. Aspects of it. To what was found in the mountains. In your and the group's task to get the sword and the armor.
Is this written in common or is it written in a different language?
It is written in Felkian.
Well, there are only so many people who would have called us this that happen to know Felkian. What would it take for me to narrow down like who this was by process of elimination?
Well, that might be something for Blackstone and Rory to kind of explore.
Okay.
I would say. Not necessarily like a role to eliminate. I think that might be something that Blackstone and Rory might need to kind of marinate with a little bit.
Okay.
Just based off of now, and I know it has been a minute, but the reference word of brother has been used now 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm. So,
but if you wanted to use another check, you certainly can. This one would have to be some kind of spirit check, though.
I'm not going to say no to a spirit check. Are you kidding me? Hold on. We had to go and get the inspiration die involved.
You're good.
Okay. So for spirit roll, with that extra inspiration die, we have a total of 21.
Perfect. That's exactly what you needed. It takes you a minute because, again, it's been a while and you're still kind of sparsing through your memories, Blackstone's memories, and getting used to everything.
I think I would add here that Roy would wonder, in addition to checking for magic, if there's any kind of residue, like spiritual residue on the paper, and we'll probably also check for this.
Yes, and indeed there is. That in this moment is leaving a marigold kind of color. And you get, it's almost like magical neurons kind of connecting as you remember too the presence of initials that were on the note in the lab. M-A-T.
M-A-T. I may need to consider that one for a moment, but if I figure that out, I guess we'll know. But also, does that mean that person's here? So many questions. Who is this person? Why are they observing me? How did you know that I got here only hours after I arrived? Someone's scrying on the group. And me without a pipe. I don't think pipes work in this form. Maybe I should consider inventing a pipe that automatons can use. Kind of quietly put the message back in the, like, reseal the bottle.
Yep.
Put the bottle away in the folds of clothing that I have. Spend a bit of time wandering the city a bit lost in thought.
Sure.
And then I remember something.
Yes.
And I think it's been a couple of days since the last time I checked on them. I pull Corbin back out of the hood.
You can see he's been adjusting to this change in you. He doesn't quite understand it. So his behavior has kind of been all over the place. In some moments fine, in other moments is being a little bit even too much for Rory's take, I would say. So you haven't been breaking him out as much.
Well, I suppose it's time we had a small chat, at least briefly. We're in Jorix now. It seems that some of our friends have departed, and you have been left in my care for the time being. And as such, I have been given a request, but as that was not an agreement you made with me, I will need your consent before performing apparently a ritual on you.
Is it penguin time finally?
There is the ever so slight smile here.
Penguin?
If you so choose, you can become a penguin.
I think at this moment, like, Rory is like marching around and your hand is like so happy, is not hearing anything else you were saying. It's just hearing the
Ahem!
Don't have to be so loud, boss.
I would like your attention for a moment. This is a very particular thing. I should explain what's going to happen to you.
I don't really care as long as I get to be a penguin and I'm still with you. And the other you, I don't understand, and that's okay. That's far beyond my pay grade. But as long as that's fine, yes.
You are going to be made into a creature that no longer needs a physical form, or to feed, or to sleep.
But I shall still do all of those things because I want to.
As is your right and prerogative, I suppose. But yes, you can be a penguin. You can in fact be several creatures of your choosing.
I hope you have enough gold because I'm going to need a bigger wardrobe.
I will not be buying you an additional wardrobe.
What?
You can talk to Blackstone about that.
I am talking to Blackstone.
You are talking to the former Blackstone and the soul of his maker.
Oh, come on. Not, the way my checking and the savings work. You're one and the same. You're you. You've always been you.
I suppose in all of the ways that are important, that is true. But also, we will not be buying you a new wardrobe yet.
Oh, can I take this to court, please?
You may take this to court at your leisure, but
All right.
first,
I'm hiring Deodora as my lawyer.
Deodora is napping.
That's a solid reasoning on why you should get me a wardrobe, because why would you want to disturb her napping?
I would not be disturbing her napping, and you won't either if you know what's good for you.
But again, you're the one that's, and you see at this point, he's like,
I'm talking with him telepathically and just like walking to a place to do the ritual.
But he is fully like, almost is like, okay, but hear me out though. It's not my fault if we're waking up Deodora because you're the one that's causing all this. We don't even have to do any of this. If you just say you could have lied to me and said, yes, you would get me a wardrobe. But for whatever silly reason, you decided to tell the truth. And now we're here. So if Deodora is awoken, it's your fault. And you should have just said yes.
You expect me to lie to a creature that does not have the authority or the power to coerce me. Interesting.
If you're using
And I
that big
place
old head of
Corbin.
yours.
I place Corbin on my shoulder, just like
Yeah.
out and about to continue talking.
And he is just yapping your ear off. Just yapping away of like, but listen, I'm doing this whole thing and it's great. I'm excited to be a penguin and all the things and stuff like that. But listen, don't you think, I deserve a little bit of a treat. We have been through so much in these last few weeks and I haven't asked for a lot. I've been pretty good. I've been, there and I want to stay with you and the other person. I don't understand it. But I don't ask for a lot. And at this point they get like very, very look down, put their little paws together. They're up on their kind of hind legs and like, is it you don't like me anymore?
You said you don't ask for a lot.
I
That's
don't.
interesting because, and I run a system diagnostic for two things. One, who was the person in the logs that gifted Corbin to Blackstone? It seems that I will need to make a visit to a particular dragonborn sorcerer.
Yes.
And then as I continue, in Corbin's mind, in ways that they can understand without their brain exploding,
Yeah.
is like images with like this like wall, like, oh, imagine walking into a Sephora.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like that amount of things. According to my logs, here is a list of things that you currently have on backlog for accessory requests.
I plead the fifth.
A necktie,
Listen, I wanted to that wasn't my decision completely. Blackstone wanted to match. Again, this sounds like you need to talk to yourself a little bit more.
a suit, a pair of boots and breeches.
Again, I think you need to talk to yourself a little bit more and maybe
A
reflect
ra-
about why I needed all of
a-
those things.
A rapier.
Listen, you go into dangerous situations and I need a stabby stab sometimes. And it's just a little needle. And he pulls out this little thing which is currently being used to hold some cheese as like a small charcuterie board. Like
A belt, a leather pirate's tricorn.
Again, I think you
A drinking horn.
I think you need to talk to yourself.
Corbin, the answer is absolutely not. Not that it matters anyway. Your new familiar form will probably come with powers.
Well, think of it this way, right? What if a new wardrobe, right, is essentially my last meal? It's my last meal. Instead of me wanting lobster and all the cheeses and although cheese sounds very good right now. All of that. What if you just promise me wardrobe?
The problem is, you have already admitted that you will continue to eat and drink because you want to. Now, if I might say to you something that you told me earlier, you were foolish enough to tell me the truth, and now we are here at this moment. And speaking of moments, I think this is probably as good a spot as any for the ritual we need to do.
If you have any love in yours or Blackstone's heart, you will say yes.
If you were talking to a person who was less than 800 years old, I might have sympathy for that.
Damn. I think he just blanches at that. It's just like, oh, okay.
I just pull a stick out of the ground and start drawing the necessary sigils.
Yep. And I think at this point you've wandered out into the woods outside of Jorix. As this is the best place to go that's not going to attract a lot of attention either.
Mhm.
And so you are able to draw out the sigils, and at this point, the moon is starting to get high in the sky as you still hear this kind of grumbling from Corbin. Looking, I would say, if anything, looking really, really, really... Oh, hang on, we're getting static again. I know, Salem.
Go ahead.
Hang on.
Go ahead and continue narrating things while I fix it.
Okay. So, hearing some... Sorry, because now I'm like, wait, there's so much happening. Salem, stop! I'm right here, buddies. Thank you. I think in this moment, kind of a shell-shocked and a bit hurt, I almost said Salem, Corbin, as he's kind of watching you put this together. I think on your passive insight, what you just did, what you just said, really struck him in a way that was probably more painful than any blade. And you can see there's confusion on his face as he's trying to process everything. There's that look that you've seen before, Rory. That look of, as one of your siblings comes to mind, of like, they love you, but in this moment, they really hate you. Because they don't understand. They don't get it. And they're not going to get it either, no matter the amount of explaining that you do. And I think at that moment, that's when you really start to see Corbin kind of metaphorically placing those bricks down of a wall. You feel the connection, even between your minds, straining slightly as he's both wanting to be present, but also at the same time is like, I need to cut the connection for a little bit. As that really hurt. But you're able to draw the sigil.
I take a moment to consult with Blackstone briefly before I finish this. Blackstone, if I might interrupt you for a moment in your studies, are we certain about making this particular creature immortal? This isn't like an internal dialogue, right?
Yep.
Are we certain we want to make this creature immortal? Well, yes, that would be lovely and important to me. I did ask. Well, yes, but I do not know if immortality will serve him well, considering that it seems that he has not heard the word no once in their mortal lifespan. I seem to have very much caused some form of grief or heartbreak by simply telling him he cannot have a wardrobe. Oh, he really does care so very much about wardrobes. I will have to leave you to those devices. It seems that if we were parents to this person, I would be the disciplinarian. Considering that considering the structure of your mind and how you have governed things so far, I feel that that is an accurate assessment. For what it's worth, your friends are going to need you soon. Also, before you rejoin them, I should tell you a few things. Oh, has something happened outside in the world recently? Something like that. Oh, well, I should be very interested to hear it when my research is complete. You definitely will. Now, that being said, I'd hate to continue to interrupt your studies, but I'm going to use a bit of your soul in the ritual, since between you and Corbin, your bond is the strongest. Corbin may grow to love me in time, but he does not like me very much right now. I don't think that is going to be useful for the ritual ahead. Well, I do mean you're responsible for this existing, I suppose, so my soul is, to some extent, yours to use. I remind you that you are, in fact, an autonomous being, and that means that I do require your express permission to do these things. And besides, only a cruel person would build someone and then exercise dominion over them in that way. Not in my line of practice. Well then, you do have my somewhat cautious but enthusiastic permission to connect Corbin and I as both. For as long as I suppose we're both going to live. Well then, I will leave you to your studies and get on with things. And they turned their attention toward Corbin, placed them in the center of the circle.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, the good news is this will only take a few moments. I don't say that to their mind, I say that to them out loud.
Yeah.
This will only take a few moments. And as I understand it, it shouldn't be painful at all.
And they kind of step forward. I think looking both excited, but as heartbroken as a mouse could be at the same time. But
If it helps, I took special precautions. You'll see in a couple of moments from now. And when I activate the circle, Corbin's soul starts to glow. It is, I think we've come up with a couple of colors for this, but I think I want to stick with this one. We're gonna make this a rose gold color.
yeah, I think that fits.
And I pull out the thread that we collected from Felk to use. I think there was also some magical water we had to collect or something like that too.
Mm-hmm. Which you
Okay.
do have as well.
So we pulled that out.
The sigil lights up, glowing a silver like the moon, which right now is not quite a crescent, as in that weird kind of in between. And then taking on a portion of Blackstone's soul being siphoned into this. You see the color dilute a little bit.
Kind of woven into the strings as I'm like weaving them together. Corbin's form floats into the air about 3 feet up. And then you see their physical form like melt away. It practically vaporizes and then floats away like dry leaves until there's just the soul of Corbin left in the shape of a mouse, because that is the only form that Corbin has known for most of their existence. All right.
And
Let us tie a silken thread to the root of your souls, of ivy that you may not be separated, and of holly that you may not come apart until the end of time.
you see in this moment, instead of the veil reaching forward to grasp at Corbin's soul very gently, instead it is Rory, your soul, but also Blackstone's acting as the anchors. And you see those threads as well as the sigils all kind of, I imagine you have to hear, even in the recesses of your mind, Rory Blackstone kind of chuckle, starting to make sailor's knots, binding. In this moment, not 2 souls, but 3 together. And you can feel kind of like when you made that connection, when you first made Blackstone, your consciousness expanding, allowing for eventually you to be able to potentially put your consciousness into Corbin as needed for recon or whatever a familiar might be needed for in that moment. Through that binding, you also get a lot of confusion coming from Corbin. He seems, I like to imagine his thread warmly wrapping around Blackstone's.
Mm-hmm.
But now seeing face to face that the 2 of you are different in these souls that are present is almost like a viper being cornered. Unsure, strikes to obviously make that connection, but there's a weariness to it. And you can feel even in that expanse, there is still a wall that you're going to have to deal with at some point. Maybe not right now. And I have to wonder if perhaps this crosses Rory's mind of it, if this is how it felt for Carmen and their partner when they binded you.
And I think there's, in some ways, and even with that wall being there, a bit more of a connection between them, or at least some understandings of like baseline things like emotions and stuff are probably a little bit sharper and clearer because their souls are connected now.
Yep.
And, you have for Blackstone hints of just excitement, satisfaction at being like having like a also functionally immortal friend. For Rory, there is the feeling of a task completed, which he enjoys. And then some concern of being there's like a feeling of, I have been asked to watch my somewhat rambunctious niece or nephew for like a week, and trying to figure out how to do that carefully. I think underneath all of that, as a subtlety, it's a little like one of those, I'm honestly not trying to hurt your feelings, but you also cannot just make demands. We're going to have to work on some boundaries, my guy. And for Corbin, there's the, you're both separate and distinct, but also being like, how long has this been a thing? Have y'all been like this the whole time? What am I even supposed to do with this? which one of you am I connected to, or is it the both of you, or I have two dads? What am I supposed to do with that?
And I think this ceremony, you see the sigil slowly ebbing, dimming, as Corbin mouse form shifts slowly into his penguin form. And I think whatever weight a mouse could possibly wear on their shoulders comes into play as you see for a moment him reaching into the wardrobe and pulling out from all those weeks ago a very similar mask and placing it on his face before looking your direction, making eye contact with you, shifting out.
I think Rory takes a moment after that, just kind of stand where the magic has happened and look at the moon.
Beautiful moon. You can see the main one, like I said, bright. And then the second, a kind of red dwarf in the distance, illuminated by the almost crescent. And then the last one next to it, almost like the ellipses you leave on a sentence in the air. Even smaller, little white dwarf. And you hear in the distance below you the crescendo of music and laughter as you've returned to Jorix. Nightlife has begun.
Which I think Rory takes a few moments in like their own way to enjoy, mostly by finding a nice place in the middle of everything, but not in the way, and people watching.
And as you slowly people watch and work your way through Jorix, slowly making your way over to the Crooked Chimney Tavern, that is where we will close this interlude for today. Woohoo! We did it. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Oh my goodness. This was so much fun. There was so much like lore and stuff happening. Sin, as always, thank you for just rolling with it. I wish you all had
we were out here doing the things.
I wish you all had seen Sin when they got into the call. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm like, there's so much that can though, and that's great and wonderful. Sin, why don't you shout out who you are and all the wonderful things that you are doing, where they can find and support you, because they should.
Hi. So again, resident sunflower person, that's me. Hi. He, they of the sunflower variety. Your friendly neighbor, neighborhood, local, ethically sourced, player, producer, narrative writer who is here on Saturdays being Rory and Blackstone for a while, and also hangs out with the Tech Talk Thursday crew on the Major Linux channel on Thursdays, where we talk about tech and games, and mostly I rant at them and remind people that things have been going on for a hot minute. Also, we got stuff going on with Other Siders Studios, where the Arcane Core Gifts of Fear show is running. And I would be remiss not to mention, wherever you happen to get your podcast, y'all should try to run up on not one, but I believe 9 currently out episodes of Windy City Nihilism,
Yes.
where I, along with a lovely cast of people led by none other than Mental Lamia, who is currently in the chat, are playing 12 Inner Demons and being like, you know what would be a really cool story to tell in the present time that would be so very helpful, is me being so traumatized as an activist that a literal demon has come to end the world. So if you are in here for the creepy vibes, especially in this lovely fall month of October, go see About the Things.
Agreed. Yes, please go and follow Mental Lamia as well. Incredible mod. Lore Keeper for Ampistrano was just on an episode of Chaotic Wholesome and does a lot of stuff in the community. Seriously, you should go hire them. And yes, please go ahead. Lamia, if you have the link, you're more than welcome to pop it into the chat if you would like, because you should have that access to do that. But yeah, we love doing that. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. I am D&D Jordan, she, they pronouns. I have been your storyteller. This is my channel, so I'm usually live almost every day right now for the month of October because I love October. And so we're playing a lot of Hades, and we've got some scary games on the docket for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. Make sure to subscribe either here and or on our YouTube, as we are working towards YouTube partner. We have new episodes. What I normally do is I cut up these episodes and then I cut them up either into 2 or 3 smaller episodes of like an hour long, so that way they're a little bit more of a bite size. And we've got new episodes coming out every Tuesday and Thursday. So yeah, Sin will not be with us next week. Instead, we'll be joining the other part of this lovely duo, and it'll be Fair, aka Deodora. And then the week after that is going to be a duo with both Fair and Sin. And then we'll be back with the whole crowd as Mott's is dealing with some IRL things. And don't worry, they are fine. They're just moving. And so we'll be picking back up and getting right into the mess that is Ampistrano proper at that point. But we're actually going to be heading over to Deodora, aka Fair, as we're going to raid over. Thank you everyone who was raiding, and whether you've been lurking or not, we so appreciate it here. Yeah, I think that's really it. So we can get this started. Salem is also saying goodbye. But yeah, we're going to head on out as we get started. So from all of us here at the Vale to all of you, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, be kind to yourself, give yourself some grace, because this is a heckin' year that we are living in and a time we are living in. And we will see y'all next week. Bye, everybody. Say bye, Salem.